You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Little technical difficulty there at the start. Today's Friday, 3rd day of October, 2025. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. So to get in there, you got to be one of our traders or taking your 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll walk you through step by step how to take the trial. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. You'll have the weekend to get familiar with them. And then your trial will run all through next week. You get 5 consecutive trading days where we treat you just like you were already a member with access to everything. No credit card required. At the end of the trial, we want you to be able to make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. So that's coming up top of the hour. This is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast, so we'll dive right into our daily devotional. The topic that we're on right now is context matters. We've all heard certain passages of Scripture preached differently, because in one instance, perhaps it was in the proper context, and in the other, it wasn't. So, context matters. Our scripture today is Revelations 3, verses 14 through 22. To the angel of the church in Laodicea, write, these are the words of the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the ruler of God's creation. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. You say, I am rich. I have acquired wealth and do not need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in the fire, so you can become rich, and white clothes to wear, so you can cover your shameful nakedness, and salve to put on your eyes, so you can see. Those whom I love I rebuke and discipline. So be earnest and repent. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. to the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Again, that was Revelations 3:14 through 22. Today's topic is symbols in the book of Revelation. Many of the New Testament writings were addressed to specific churches in specific cities in the first century. These writings naturally include references to current social or cultural situations from which modern readers are far removed. Understanding the social and cultural background of a city can help illuminate the Bible's message. Take, for example, Laodicea, one of the 7 cities. Jesus delivers a message in Revelation 3. Laodicea was a wealthy banking city that prided itself on its self-sufficiency. They were so proud. In fact, they refused to accept the emperor's disaster relief funds after an earthquake in AD 60. Sometimes the values of a culture spill over into the church without the people of the church being aware. Apparently, this had happened to the church in Laodicea. Jesus criticizes the church there for their arrogance. You say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, and do not need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. The people of that church were likely wealthy and allowed their material wealth to blind them to their spiritual poverty. One area the residents of Laodicea were not proud of was the city's water. Laodicea did not have a natural water supply, so water had to be piped in from hot springs 6 miles away or from the mountains. Once it reached the city, the water would be lukewarm and contaminated with lime deposits. Lukewarm water was considered disgusting and not suitable for drinking. Is the context starting to kick in here? Jesus opens his message to the Laodicean church by criticizing their works as being neither cold nor hot. So, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. Jesus is telling the Laodicean Christians that they make him sick. Just like that water, that lukewarm water they had to pipe in. God doesn't like our arrogant self-sufficiency. He's near to the weak, the broken, and the humble. We, like the Laodicean church, need to make sure our cultural values don't spill over into the life of our churches. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, forgive us for the times that we've grown lukewarm in our faith. Rekindle a fire in our hearts so we burn with passion for you. Open our eyes to see our true need and clothe us with your righteousness. We open the door of our lives to you. Come in, Lord. Make us yours completely. It's in your name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Friday. Says I'm experiencing network difficulties, so sorry if it's affecting you. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. I'll refresh this one more time since I'm having quote-unquote network difficulties. It all looks good from my end, but maybe not from your end. I don't know. Currently, the Dow is up 520 points. That's a little over 1%. NASDAQ is up 68. S&P 500 is up 35. The Russell 2000 also up 35. And for the Russell, that's a gain of almost 1.5%. So the Russell's definitely leading the pack. And the commodity basket, crude oil up 61 cents. Boy, that's the first time we've seen crude green in maybe the first day this week. I know it's been at least 2 days. We'll see that. We'll look at the charts in a minute. Crude oil up 63 cents, trading 61.10 last. That's a gain of 1%, or $620 per contract traded. Gold up $45.30, trading 39.1340 last. That's a gain of a little over 1%. Silver up $1.80, trading 48.17 last. That's a gain of almost 4%. Now, when silver rises $1 in price, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. And at the moment, it's up $1.79. So, $7,500 per contract traded, or better. More than that, yeah. Pretty close to 10 grand. Second time I've said that this week. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 832 points, almost 2%. Shanghai rose 20. The Hang Seng fell 146 points. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 63. The DAX down 43. The CAC up 24. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a mixed day for the UK. And at the moment, it is a big green Radio Friday here in the US of A. Take a look at the news. The U.S. government may begin permanently firing federal workers, estimated to be in the thousands as soon as today, as the government enters its third shutdown day. So America goes out of business for 3 days now. And what do we get? New all-time historic intraday and closing highs. Well, we don't know about today's closing high yet, but we have put in another intraday high so far. In what world and on what planet does this make any sense at all? You scratch my head, I'll scratch yours, I guess. The firings would be in addition to the hundreds of thousands of workers who are typically furloughed during temporary closures. President Trump yesterday warned of mass layoffs and cuts to federal agencies after Senate Democrats this week blocked a House-passed stopgap funding bill to maintain government spending, mostly at 2025 levels, through November 21st. At least 60 votes are needed in the Senate to pass a measure. Republicans hold 53 seats. The Senate returns today to vote again on the Republican-led House-passed bill, as well as alternative proposals. Democrats are seeking the reversal of Medicaid cuts and the extension of expiring Affordable Care Act tax credits. Each federal department agency has its own contingency plan for shutdowns. Basically, in a nutshell, if it's got you confused, okay? The left side of the aisle want you, the American taxpayer, to pay the health care cost of individuals who are in our country illegally. But yet they stand in front of you and say, no, we don't. But even AOC can't get them to sign the bill. Wow. Nancy's just shaking that bony finger, saying Hakeem's in charge. Even AOC came out with a statement this morning. Oh, Hakeem's in charge. But, she's already made the statement that Republicans could come to her office and negotiate direct. She has basically appointed herself the Empress of America. At the moment, a very broken America, which continues to put in new all-time historic highs. Wow. On a darker note, at least 2 people were killed and 3 were seriously wounded yesterday when an attacker drove into a crowd outside of a synagogue in northwest England and assaulted them with a knife. Congregants were gathering for Yom Kippur, Judaism's holiest holiday. British police fatally shot the suspect, who they said wore a vest initially believed to be an explosive device, but later determined that it was inoperable. Authorities identified the suspect as Jihad al-Shami, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. 3 unidentified individuals, 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s, were arrested in connection with the attack. The motive has not been publicly disclosed. Well, we know what the motive is: hatred. This was a terrorist attack. Now, as a Christian, we're taught to love and pray for our enemies. Are we not? We're taught to love and pray for our enemies. But these folks who play for the other team, they're taught from birth to destroy the infidel. That's how they get to heaven, by killing Christians. People who don't believe the way they believe. We're encouraged to share the gospel with those who don't believe. And, if necessary, die for our faith. Not kill other people for our faith, but like Charlie Kirk. He took a bullet because of what he believed in. Never raised a hand to anyone. I never even heard him raise his voice, except maybe when he was excited and happy about something. But I've watched him. I've watched the videos of him sitting down at these tables on these college campuses, having these discussions. It was under the Prove Me Wrong tent, where anyone was welcome to come and say why they disagreed with Charlie's Christian beliefs. And it was the ones coming to ask the questions that would get out of control, get out of hand, start screaming, start yelling, start stamping their feet. Charlie just sat there, cool as a cucumber, answered their questions politely and respectfully. And ultimately, he died for his faith. Aren't you glad that you're not part of a religion that encourages you to kill other people to prove you're faithful? I sure am. Peanuts. I'm not talking about your paycheck. I'm talking about the comic strip. Peanuts marked its 75th anniversary yesterday, honoring the 1950 debut of Charles Schulz's iconic comic strip. The series introduced Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and their friends, who became international figures through newspapers, television specials, books, and more. Schulz drew heavily on his own life, capturing humor and anxieties in simple scenes of children, a dog, and a bird. He produced the strip until his death in 2000, creating nearly 18,000 installments. The comic expanded from 7 newspapers to more than 2,600 worldwide at its end, reaching an estimated 355 million readers across 75 countries and in 21 languages. Its television specials won Emmy Awards, while Snoopy became a star every year in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, we know that Lucy used to snatch the football at the last moment. And every time Charlie trusted that this time she wouldn't do it. But she did. But guess what? They didn't kill anybody. The Peanuts brand still earns about $30 million yearly. To honor the anniversary, the Charles M. Schulz Museum launched a year-long retrospective. Publishers released commemorative collections, and Apple TV Plus announced an extended partnership, and even farmers paid homage with themed corn mazes. Yeah, it's October, time for the corn mazes. Well, some of the economic reports we expected this morning, they didn't show up. I guess you know why. The government shutdown today precluded Friday's release of the monthly jobs report, while putting other important federal data gathering and reporting on hold. The monthly employment report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a key gauge of economic health closely watched by investors and policymakers, wasn't released as scheduled this morning, leaving unanswered questions about the health of the U.S. labor market. Through August, the report showed signs of a sharp slowdown in the job market, with revisions released last month showing the economy actually shed jobs in June, while the unemployment rate rose to 4.3% as of August. Data released by private firms this week, while not a full substitute for government statistics, offered further signs of stress. Nobody trusts any of those numbers anymore anyway, so I don't know that it matters. Over at Bloomberg, David Solomon said he expects the U.S. economy to accelerate into 2026 as tailwinds from continued stimulus and tech spending outweigh a softer labor market and geopolitical turmoil. Government spending and all of the AI infrastructure build means, on balance, the economy is still in pretty good shape. Goldman Sachs, they have a habit of getting it right. On any given year, they average about 3 days where they actually lose money at their trading desk. Google it. And from Bloomberg, for all the hype over artificial intelligence and the surge in chip stocks this year, gold miners have actually been the better buy. A gauge of the world's gold equities from MSCI has soared about 135% this year, tracking gains in the precious metal. It's on course for its greatest ever outperformance versus the index compiler's measure of major global semiconductor firms, which itself is up 40%. The surprisingly large gap underscores a key dynamic in this year's global markets. Even as a sense of FOMO, that's fear of missing out, drives investors to chase gains in anything related to AI, they are also lured by the relentless rally in gold as central banks around the world accumulate the metal. We've been preaching that for years. Finally happened. It's official, Cracker Barrel has cut ties with the design firm that created its controversial new logo and redesigned their restaurants. The restaurant chain started implementing the changes but quickly reversed course following online backlash, including President Trump. The company confirmed the split late yesterday in a press release announcing it's ending its engagement with Profit. Profit was the design agency that Cracker Barrel hired just seven months ago to help refresh its brand. And I know I had an article at one point that said how much they paid them. I wonder if they'll get a refund. Just kidding. From Bloomberg, the louder the alarm bells are blaring about the stock market rally getting excessive, the more investors appear to be tuning them out. In a market that goes from one record to the next every 4 days, Wall Street seems too busy chasing the upside to worry about risk like a government shutdown and stretched valuations. The world's about to get one of the biggest wake-up calls. Now, those of you that have been around the markets long enough, do you remember the dot-com blow-up? Remember the 2007-08 financial crisis, right? I think something far worse is on the horizon now. You're an investor. Don't sell at the bottom, okay? Now, I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm not a licensed investment advisor. Speak with your licensed investment advisor about what you should do, but just good old market common sense tells you that most people do sell at the bottom and buy at the top. And we got a whole lot of people buying at the top. Just give me one more day. Just one more day. In fact, Bank of America yesterday said you should buy the triple Qs with an expiration in March of next year. That's how long they think the Magnificent Seven are going to continue to rally. All that information was in yesterday's broadcast, and it's also in the Breeze channel in Telegram. Now, we did get the PMI numbers this morning. Apparently, those aren't issued by the government. A PMI under 50, question mark. That's not just an economist signal, that's a real-world indicator for anyone pulling freight. The September 2025 ISM manufacturing PMI came in at 49.1, signaling the 7th straight month of contraction in U.S. manufacturing. And while some might brush it off as a Wall Street problem, if you're a small carrier or an owner-operator, this number hits you at the docks. So, what does 49.1 really mean? PMI stands for Purchasing Managers Index. It's a monthly survey of over 300 manufacturing firms that measure things like new orders, production levels, supplier deliveries, inventories, and employment. A score over 50 means growth. Under 50, contraction. So that 49.1 means things are shrinking but not collapsing. And when the manufacturing sector contracts, less raw materials is moved in and fewer finished goods are moved out. That's less freight, especially for those running dry vans and flatbeds. And last from Wall Street, the business behind a ruble-backed cryptocurrency targeted by U.S. sanctions was among the sponsors of a major crypto conference in Singapore this week, as demand soars for the token used by Russians. The Token 2049 event is one of the biggest on the global crypto calendar. More than 25,000 attendees, over 500 exhibitors, and industry elite among the speakers, including the eldest son of the U.S. president. The U.S. and Britain in August sanctioned several companies that they said were behind Kyrgyzstan-based A7A5, a stablecoin pegged to the ruble that was launched in January by a Russian defense lender and a payments firm. They described the token as a part of a network for helping Russians evade Western sanctions. If you get an email offering to sell you some of those, watch for the van. the unmarked van to pull up out front. Just kidding. Not really. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. It's not just E-minis, it's also crude, gold, and silver. We're currently in week 374. Over the last 374 weeks, we've issued over 20,600 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, so some of these numbers may have changed. She'll finalize the recap this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning, as she does at the end of each week. And she'll have posted in the appropriate channels in Telegram. At the time she did the recap this morning, since the markets opened this past Sunday night, we issued a total of 63 alerts. At the time she did the recap, we're still waiting on the outcome of 11. That gave us 52 actionable alerts, of which 3 or 6% would have been stopped out. Again, based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, the logic alerts all have an entry price, long or short, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then typically additional targets and a final trade to target. The Logic 247 alerts can come out anytime around the clock. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 374 weeks, that's a little over 7 years. That's a pretty long time. But years before there was a Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. They're different in a number of ways, but for the purpose of this discussion, I'll simply point out that they don't come out around the clock like the Logic alerts. They're published as a static report shortly before the Globex open each evening. The Friday session that we're in right now began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. But all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets 5 minutes before the market opened last night. S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So as we go through the individual charts, you'll see these targets. You'll see the lines drawn, okay? Just remember, our traders had those targets 5 minutes before the market opened. So with that, we'll go to where we always start with the charts, and that's the S&P 500 E-mini futures. Now my charts look a little different than Michael's. That's because I use TT Pro, okay? And I have for many, many years. Now this new all-time high, it's still climbing, okay? We're up to 6,800. Now the 100% fib extension, okay, which connects this low to this high to this low, it's up at 6,807. But right now we need to bump this thing up to 6,800. See how close we can get it. That's not very close. That's pretty close. Wait a minute. No, that's not close at all, is it? 6,800. Oh, we should be able to do a little better than that. Although it looks like it's going to run into it, so I'll just leave it there. Just know that currently the all-time historic high of all time since the index was created. Today, 6,800. Now the highest weekly trading zone this week is 6810/6811. So it's possible we get there. Now the green line, it's called the BVC. Price always reverts to the mean. Doesn't matter what strategy, methodology you use, price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. We call it the BBC. It simply stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices, as happened back on April 24th. Now, as I said, price always reverts to the mean. So in other words, when price pulls back to the BBC, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. And when price is below the green line, we're bearish. And you'll see that the pullbacks hold no matter which way. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. The last pullback we had all of these, and here, and here, and here. The last one was September 25th. And here we are with a country that's out of business, putting in new all-time historic highs. Okay, all the alerts, both the Logic 247 alerts and the Concierge Trade alerts. This needs to be refreshed. The Logic 247 alerts and the Concierge Trade alerts, they're all created on the 30-minute chart. There's nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just a time frame I chose years ago. They say if it's not broke, leave it alone. So I have. Now, I mentioned that the highest weekly trading zone this week for the S&P, the ES, is 6810/11. These weekly trading zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. We've published the zones for the last, well, it's now over 15 and a half years. The vertical line separates today, Friday. Here's Thursday, Wednesday. Now, when price rallies up to a weekly zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. When price drops to a weekly trading zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. So here was the opening candle last night, and remember, all of our traders had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. Now, red and falling is bearish, blue and climbing is bullish. So by 9:30, we had hit the CTA long target. The opening price last night was 67. We'll call it 65. How about that? 67, 64. So we'll be conservative and call it 67, 65. That's 12 points up to the target. 12 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. Now, the long target was simply based off this, where blue turns to red. It's pretty simple. We consolidated at the zone resistance. Then we got above it. And as so often happens on the retracement, because that's how markets move. You get a lag and a retracement, 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 a lag and then a diva retracement. Okay, that's just how markets work. Once you trade through a long target like this, on the pullback, that long target will quite often become its support. And the low of that candle was 76.75. So it looks like it touched it, but it missed touching it by 3 ticks. Okay, you get the idea though. 12 points over here. At $50 a point, that's $600 per contract traded. And again, all of our traders had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened last night. Now, once we hit this area right here, where price had never been before, buyers hit pause on the buy side. I'm talking to the institutional buyers. So we got a retracement. We actually got below the BBC. We had a candle that opened and closed below the BBC. However, we ran into support at the previous bullish cross, right there. When the blue line gets above the green line, that's called a bullish cross. When the red line gets below the green line, that's called a bearish cross. When you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. And I'd have to say, it was. Support will send the market looking for resistance. Once we took out this high, that put us in price discovery mode. Is this the high of the day? So far. But notice the step line on this climb up, okay? You've got the black step line running parallel to blue and climbing. That's what a rally typically looks like over here. Now, once the step line crosses from the left side to the right side, blue and climbing, like it did here, that's when you should expect your retracement to the BBC. Remember, price always reverts to the mean. Or, in our language, pulls back to the BBC. Okay? So, as the step line, if we continue to consolidate another candle, that's going to make this step line, even though it's above the BBC, it's going to be on the right side of it. That signals a retracement back to the BBC. Then, of course, even though the pullback holds more often than not, eventually it will trade through, like it did here. Okay? And even here. So, when price gets back to the BBC, you got to be patient and see if the pullback's going to hold. Now, it might spike down to this area where you had the bullish cross. You got to wait for that 30-minute candle to close. And then if you have a 30-minute candle close and open above the BBC, it's official, pullback held, and you should expect higher prices. If price comes down and the pullback doesn't hold, and we trade through the bullish cross, then of course you would expect potential support at the top side of the long target, then here, 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 where that bullish cross was, and then here, and then the short target. So important that you learn how to read the chart. Okay, I know everyone can read. Well, not everyone. Everyone tuned into this broadcast can read. But you see, when it comes to charts, there's no words, sentences, paragraphs, punctuation. Learning to read a chart. Picture yourself reading a great book. Maybe it's a thriller. Maybe it's a mystery. Whatever. It's a good book. They still make them, by the way. And you're really enjoying it. And you get to the bottom of the page and you're just about to turn the page. That's why they call them page turners. In your mind's eye. Because see, at the bottom of the page, you got kind of a little cliffhanger there. But in your mind's eye, you already see what's going to happen when you turn that page. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're not. Well, with the Logic 247 alerts over the last 7+ years, we've averaged, not being right, 20% or less of the time on a weekly basis. This week we're sitting at, I forget, what did I say we were sitting at this week? I have it right here. And this week, we're sitting at 6% stopped out of 52 actionable alerts. We're still waiting on the outcome of 11. So this number will probably change when Valerie does the final recap later today. So that's the importance of learning how to read a chart where there are no words, sentences, paragraphs, and punctuation. Okay? Knowing what to expect next. Well, I just explained. If we consolidate one more candle sideways, that's going to put the black step line on the right side of blue and climbing. Once that happens, then you should anticipate price dropping to the BVC. Then it becomes a question of will the pullback hold or not. It holds more often than not. But if you just jump on it, that's gambling. See, you got to wait. Let the candle do what it's going to do. Maybe it spikes down. Who knows? See, nobody knows what's going to happen next to the markets. But all these emails you get and all these websites you go to, they tell you, man, they can read tomorrow's headlines tomorrow. They have crystal balls. How much time and treasure have you sunk in those mindless ventures? Sure, it looks great on the cherry-picked videos on their site. But it's like you're cursed. Every time you buy it and install it, it just doesn't seem to work the same. See, they show you those cherry-picked videos on their website, but they don't show you the other 100 trades they had to wade through that didn't work out to get to the ones that look like magic. But you've already figured that out, so that's why you're here. The Dow ripping and running and trying to get to the highest weekly trading zone. Here's where we opened last night above the BVC, and looks like by 9:30 we had made our way up to the long target. Now notice the step line. It's starting to lean to the right. Okay, we haven't really consolidated sideways yet. So for now, price can continue to climb. It's got a ways to go to get to the highest weekly zone. Again, these are the zones that were published Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. Only one of three things happens when price encounters a weekly zone. 70% of the times consolidation, 20% of the times rejection, 10% of the time the slice. Here's the Russell. Okay, so we opened right here last night. Everyone had that target 5 minutes before the open. What was the opening price? 24.74. We'll call it 75. 75 to 82, that's 7 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. We traded above it, pulled back, and just like we saw in the other chart, the top of the long target held as support, and look where we are now. Now we've been consolidating sideways for a while on the Russell, so that step line it's directly above blue and climbing. Once that step line crosses, look for price to come back to the BVC. Price always reverts to the mean. When the step line crosses blue and climbing, that's your heads up that price is getting ready to at least attempt to revert to the mean. It always does, but like I said, nobody knows what's going to happen next in the market. No man, no machine, no algorithm, no AI, no nothing, not no way, not no how. There's too many factors involved. Now, you may find somebody that's real good at guessing, but they're going to hit a streak where they can't get it right for the sake of their life. All right, on the NQ, this was the open last night at 25, we'll call it 25,100. We ran up 46 points. Let's call it 40 points. At $20 a point, that's $800 per contract traded from 6 p.m. Eastern to 8:30. Then we managed to trade through, took out yesterday's high, okay, after we consolidated a little bit. And then buyers lost their confidence. And down we come. And this time we come through. First, right there at the top, on the top side of the long target, we catch a bounce up to the BVC. And look, the pullback held. Telling you, it holds more often than it doesn't. So the pullback holds. Down we go for a leg and a retracement. Oh, again, the pullback holds. Yeah, we spiked it, but where'd we close? It held. And then it took us right down to the short target, which was based on what? Right there, where red turned to blue. The low of this candle was 25051. So on the NQ, we missed it by 9 ticks. Okay, so I'll try to do better. Now look what's happened. We're below the BBC, but red and falling has turned to blue and climbing. Blue and climbing is bullish, right? But it's just started. But as you can see, it's acting as support. So either blue and climbing is going to walk price back up, or price is going to trade through blue and climbing. And if that's the case, then what you want to be looking for is potential support here. And obviously here at the low of the session. And then you got to look to yesterday. Okay, market's got a real good memory. Better than mine. Crude oil. Sounds like Michael has arrived.
Hi, I am here.
All right, so guys, we'll pick up with crude, gold, and silver. When I come back, silver, still got one more zone overhead, but we have put in a high today of 48.32. Remember, we've only been to $50 twice in history. So it's going to be real interesting to see how this plays out. So Michael's going to give us a recap of what he did this morning in the live training room. And then I'll come back when he's all finished, and I'll finish the recap I was doing of the concierge trade alerts and wrap things up with our good word for the day.
All right. There we go.
Okay, looks good.
Excellent. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 3rd day of October, 2025. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, this is a new sheet today. All you have to do is go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for the trial. Click on that purple button, and you're going to go to this registration page. On this page, just fill out the form. Now, we had a guy in the room this morning who did not fill out that form. So somebody gave him the link to get in. And that's fine. But if you do that, then you don't get all the indicators. So you really want to do that part. All right. Go here again. Go to mytradingiq.com. Click on the purple button. It's going to bring you to this registration page. Just fill out the blanks down at the bottom. Put in your TradingView login ID. All right. If you don't have a TradingView login ID yet, click this button right here. Click that link. It's going to bring you to this page. Watch this video. Get an ID. and give it to us. All right, it would behoove you to do that. All right, so we had a pretty good day today. It wasn't as good as yesterday, but it was better than the day before yesterday. And we've been having the string right now. We have 7 days in a row over $1,000 a contract in the room. So that's all good. Didn't start out great. I started out with a mistake, and I was down 15 ticks on gold because of it. But we'll get into that in a minute. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. We're up 162 ticks on the NQ, 7 on the YM, 24 on gold, and 18 on the ES. That puts us at $1,310 per contract per morning session. Today took 19 minutes and 11 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on. And we took a total of 48 trades today. Wow. Is that the most we've taken? Nope, we had 50. Monday, I guess. Tuesday, we had 50. Anyway, lots of trades. Now, on the month, that puts us at $3,920 over 3 business days, averaging $1,306 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year now, with $205,837. 471 business days, averaging $1,203 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day, and you were to add 1 contract per month, so far this year, you would have only had to work 23.66 hours. And you'd be up $144,997, averaging $6,126 per hour. $61.26 per hour. Right? All right. Let's get into the trades. We had a whole bunch of them, so we're just going to start with gold and work our way across. Okay. Just thinking of something. Never mind. Just hit Control back. All right, here we go. On the gold, I took this trade right here. This wasn't my first trade of the day. I guess it was. No, it wasn't. Where's my first trade? Oh, here it is right here. This is my first trade. This is a mistake. I went short on a green background right here. And of course, it did stop me out. Now, it stopped me out to the tick, but I should have been going long, not short. I shouldn't have been doing anything, actually. There was no trade at all in there. And I took that one, and it stopped me out, minus 15 ticks. The next one we had right here was a break even. Again, I made that a different color, yellow, because I shouldn't have taken that either. That was my second mistake. And then finally, with the gold, I got 1 trade that I should have done right there, and I picked up 2 ticks profit. We're at minus 13 after that. We stopped out on this one, which was a valid stop out, and I was at minus 28 after that. And then I thought I said both of the stop outs that I had were wrong. I thought I remember myself saying that this morning. No, well, that was a valid stop out. Anyway, on this one right here, we picked up, it looks like 9 ticks, and that got us to minus 19. And then we went to minus 17, and minus 15, and minus 11, and minus 6. And then finally, we picked up 10 ticks there that got us to plus 4. We had to break even on that one. Then from 4 to 9, 9 to 11. Then we're getting toward the end here, 11 to 18. And then there was one more, we went from 18 to 24. So there were a lot of trades there on the gold. During the break, wow, there wasn't much at all here during the break. This right here was a valid trade during the break. That was a good one. This was not actually in here. Nothing in there was valid. And that was it. We just had that one trade there during the break on the gold. Okay, and that was the gold. The YM, we were back and forth on the YM quite a bit today too. Let's see, we started out on the YM. The control back button on that too. Does anybody have any questions about any of this at this point? Okay, so on the YM, our first trade was right here. We picked up 1 tick on that. Then next trade was here. We picked up 2 more to get us to 3. Then we took a break even there. Then I took this one. This wasn't a valid trade because it didn't hit the midpoint, but I was in it anyway. It went from 3 to 9 on that. And then we had 1 more tick right here, got us to 10. And then we stopped out. We're at -5. Picked up 2 to get us to -3. Then here we picked up 4 to get us to +1. So we finally got positive on that one, +1. Then we picked up 3 to get us to +4, a break even, and somewhere in there was 1 more trade that we picked up 3 ticks on to get us to +7. So that's where we ended up with +7 on the morning session with the YM. Now let's see what kind of trades we had. There was 1 trade right here. That's a good trade on the YM. That was a valid trade. They didn't go anywhere. That would have stopped you out. That would have been like 25 ticks in profit. That would have been -15 if you let it run. That's nothing. So that's nothing. That right there was no good. Turn it down. This was a trade right here that would have worked out. This was a trade right here that would have even break even. And that was it. So the YM had ample trading opportunities, and we ended up with just +7 on the YM. Okay. Now the ES. S&P 500. Our first trade here on the ES, we picked up 10 ticks. And then here we picked up 6 more to get us to 16. Then 4 more to get us to 20, break even, then 2 more to get us to 22. Then 2 more to get us to 24, and then we stopped out down to 14. Now the last trade that we did on the ES was right here, and we picked up 4 ticks on that to get us to 18. Now after that, during the break, let me just get rid of this. During the break, after that, we had nothing. This trade right here was the only ES trade during the break. This one right here. And it worked out. Okay. And that was it for the ES. Okay, that was it for the ES. And now all right. Slide all this all the way back. All the way back here. And here. And here. Here. There we go. All right. So on the NQ, we had I know I have a trade here. I was on the 200 range when I took that, so it was just a random placing of a trade. The very first trade we took on the NQ, we picked up 8 ticks, but I was on the 200 range at the time.
It's because you were on it last night in the workshop.
Yeah. Yep, we left it on there from last
I don't know if you just got the same pop-up on your screen I got on mine. $113 million in Bitcoin shorts were just liquidated in the past hour.
Really? Liquidated?
Yeah. Yeah, they were short, and it's, basically a margin call. And so the margin call wasn't met. And so, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 113 million, I mean, that's a lot to me, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that huge.
Not BlackRock, it's not.
It has, Bitcoin now has a market cap greater than Amazon, I think I read this morning. So anyway. All right, sorry to interrupt you. Go.
That's okay. That's all right. Thank you for refreshing my memory about why I did that. That was from the 200 range. All right. So I didn't. Let's go back here. Let's see. Bitcoin right now is up $2,454. So it doesn't seem to have hurt it any. They liquidated the shorts, you said, right? Yeah. So that's going to be a good thing for price.
Right. Yeah. That should send price higher. Yeah.
You would think, and it is going higher, so that's good. And we're on your all-time highs on Bitcoin right now too. All right. So the next trade we took in here was a break even. Then we picked up 4 ticks there. Now I have that highlighted. I did a blue arrow there because it didn't hit the midpoint on the down close. I had my order waiting there, and I thought it was going to hit the midpoint, but it didn't. And I picked up 4 ticks on that, and then I had a break even there. So at this point, we're at 12. Okay. Then this one here, I got 28 ticks. 28 ticks on that. And this one here, I don't know why I got that blue. Oh, because I should have been doing it from this bar, not this bar. That's why. But I picked up 24 ticks on that to get me to 64. Then I had a break even. Then I picked up 12 ticks on that to get me to 76. And what did I do wrong on that one? Again, I hit it from this bar, not this bar. Coming to 76. I made a lot of mistakes this morning. Some of them cost me money. This one I picked up 20. This one I picked up four ticks on that. I think I entered right in here and I picked up 4 ticks right there and then it pulled back up. From my entry point, I don't think it would have stopped me out. From right here, it would have stopped out to the tick, but from my entry point, I don't think it would have stopped me out if I had kept it going. But I got 4 ticks on that, and at that point, we're at 100. Then we got 12 there to 112, then 20 to 132, 18 to 150, 8 to 158, and I don't show it, but there was one more small win. We went from 158 to 162. And that was it on the NQ for us. We're up 162 ticks this morning. So
one more quick interruption.
Yes.
That company we were talking about last night in the workshop, Lithium Americas, it's at $12.36 today.
Yeah, I was showing that this morning. I kept calling for you, but
oh, I'm sorry. I was on phone call. I had a ton of phone calls I had to wade through.
Okay.
So sorry, I wasn't there.
That's okay. This is what we said last night, and I said, in a week or two, I expected it to get up here to $9.50, $10 in a week or two. I wasn't expecting it to happen overnight, but we'll take a look at that chart in a minute. I'll do another one of these based on the current information that we have right now on that chart, right? Because this came out of the partners meeting last night.
I'll be listening in this soon.
Okay. All right, so let me finish up with the NQ then during the break. Yeah, it was a great call. And I was calling you. I was saying this was Joining Baby last night. And it's okay. We'll cover it in a minute. So this right here was no trade because this didn't do the full cycle, so you wouldn't have to trade there. This right here was an okay trade. It was right there at the midpoint. May or may not have taken it. If I had an order waiting, I would have taken it. This one right here, good trade. Over here, nope. I'm going in the other direction. This one right here would have been a good trade. And this one right here would have been a good trade. It would have stopped out, but only one of them would have stopped out. And 3 or 4 of them would have given you the full 45 ticks. And that was it for the NQ. We ended up with 162 on the NQ. Now, let's go look at this thing that we looked at last night. It was LAC. Okay. Dwayne had recommended this. Last week, I'm going to go back to a 30-minute. That's what we were looking at last night. Dwayne had recommended it over here a couple weeks ago at $3. And today, it had a high right there. At a high of 932.
Well, I wonder why is Yahoo Finance showing it as 1237? It says it's up 30% on the day. Oh, that's on the Toronto exchange. I didn't see that.
Oh, okay.
LAC.TO. Okay.
Okay, well, it's Canadian dollars, but still, it did everything that we thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
This is what I had drawn last night, and so I'll draw it again right now.
If you put in LAC.TO, does it give you the Toronto exchange? I bet it does.
LAC.TO.
No. I guess not.
Though I might be able to just find it without doing a .TO. .TO might not be the right abbreviation.
There's a TSX. It was the second one down from the top.
This one right here. There it is. There it is.
There it is.
And so the high on the Toronto Stock Exchange today was $13.
Yep.
$13 was the high today.
Huh. Anyway,
and last night during the meeting, it was down at 953.
Yeah.
But I think we'll go back to the U.S. and it went from 6 and change last night up to 932 today.
It's still
but the thing that I was
pretty good return. And for those who don't know, the U.S. government is investing in this company. They provide lithium, which is a rare earth mineral, and there are very few deposits worldwide. So Trump has the U.S. government investing in this company. So do your own due diligence. This is not a recommendation to buy or sell any security, but it is a recommendation to do your own due diligence, because Apple once traded at $12. Actually traded at less, but there was a time that I looked at it at $12 and turned my nose up. That was before the iPhone. No, all they had was an iPod.
There's a time in like 1989 I could have bought Microsoft too. 1987, now that I think about it, it was 1987. I could have bought Microsoft. I didn't. And the reason I didn't do that was stupid too. I was sweet young and stupid.
And Microsoft has split so many times. You can't look at today's price and go, wow, I didn't make X amount of dollars. You'd have to go through and you would have to get it price adjusted. Yeah, here you go.
If I invested $1,000, because that's what I had to invest in
MSFT.
When was it? October 1987. MSFT. What would it be worth today? It's funny, ChatGPT, when we found a whole 500. Oh, Microsoft is at 500.
You gotta scroll down. Let's see.
2.4 to 2.5 million.
Wow.
I had to put that $1,000 in and just left it alone.
As for those of you that don't understand stock splits, when a stock gets really expensive out of the average person's reach, it's not so popular anymore because, with places like Robinhood, you can buy a fourth of a share. It's kind of like cryptocurrency. You don't have to buy a whole share. But in the past, before Robinhood broke that ground, when a stock got too expensive, they would do a stock split. Let's say they had 1 billion outstanding shares. So they would issue another 1 billion shares, which would mean the share you held that was worth $1,000 was now only worth $500, but you had twice as many shares. So you didn't lose anything. You were net the same, but now it was back down to $500, so more people could afford to buy it. But now with fractional buying of stocks, it's not a thing anymore.
I can't believe the price to earning ratio on Microsoft is 28.88 with all the shares they have outstanding. That is just incredible.
Yeah, I have no idea. The market cap's 2.79 trillion.
2.79 trillion in the price to earnings ratio. So.
And Trump said we've made 17 trillion in investments and tariffs since he took office. But there's people out there screaming, okay, so where's the beef?
Yeah, where's your money?
Where is okay, you say it, fine. Where is it? So that's a question he's going to have to. He can't avoid that, or he'll have another Epstein mess on his hands. This estimate does not include dividends that Microsoft has paid over the years, or the effect of reinvesting those dividends. If dividends were reinvested, the actual amount would be significantly higher.
Yeah, it ignores that, but it doesn't include that. So it would have been a lot of money if I'd have done it. You know what I did? I bought a motorcycle. That's what I did. I bought a motorcycle. It's a nice one. Not the shadow.
Yeah, I just bought more of a company that's now bankrupt. So, oh well. Life.
Did you buy some of this one anyway, Dwayne? Did you buy some of this
one? No, I didn't.
All right. Well, here's where it was last night. Now, this is what I drew last night. I said, okay, so from this, if we just take the same thing, then you have a time and price estimate to repeat itself. So if you take the same thing that I did last night and we stick it on here, and this is what I drew last night. I said within the next 2 weeks, I believe is what that went out to, right? Out here, to the 8th of October. So maybe within next week is what I was saying. Next week, the 8th of October. I would expect it to get up to this price right here is what I was saying last night. And so we're almost up there already. That was just the timing of that, I think, was just incredible. And I know, Ronnie is the one who asked me to make this. Dwayne is one who brought the symbol up and told us about the symbol. And then I brought up the chart, and I had just been doing a thing on projections, option projections and stuff like that on larger time frames for Ronnie, because he had asked me to do that in the meeting last night. And and then he said, well, what can you do with this chart? Can you make a projection with this chart? Before I had to draw this on this, drawing this on there. And this is what I came up with. And this is just what you do with every chart. And so the projection.
Some numbers did come out this morning. But the government numbers did not. So whenever the government goes back into business, I guess we'll get those numbers. And then, the Senate is in session voting again today. So I don't suspect they'll let this go on for too long, but I don't know.
I read they were thinking it was going to last for 13 days. Is what they were saying.
Any particular reason why 13 days?
No, I have no idea. That's just what I read. I think they're laying odds on it in Vegas.
Interesting.
Let's see over under on this. I don't know, but anyway, so this worked out great. And when Dwayne had recommended it back here 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, probably last week. Yeah, back here at $3
on this afternoon, on this very afternoon broadcast.
And there it is. This is the projection that I see based on the information that we have available to us. We're almost there now. We're probably due for a little bit of a pullback on this huge run up right here. And you see the midpoint is right here of this leg. The midpoint is right here. It's already drawn it for you. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a pullback down to that area before we push up to this area right here. And we're talking about the middle of next week.
But if you look at your range trigger, it's in the oversold.
Yeah, it's suggesting it's going to go up some more.
Yeah.
But, in the larger time frames like this, the range trigger is not. It doesn't have,
I got you.
The same weight. On the 30-minute, if we were to look at this on the 200 range, the range trigger has a little more weight because it actually moves better with the with the
so
bars.
now it puts it in overbought.
A little bit of an overbought situation right here, and it'll probably drop down to here a little bit, and then run back up.
On a 200 tick range, look at it, goes all the way back to 2022.
Yeah.
Look at the date down at the bottom on the far left, 2020.
Yeah, way over here.
Yeah, 2020, 2021.
Well, this is 2022. This is 2021 right here, December 6th of 2021. So the all-time high.
It's actually, I didn't realize it was substantially lower. So there's no reason this thing shouldn't run back to $25.
Right. Especially if I don't know what the reason was that it dropped, but there's no reason why it shouldn't go back up.
Well, his last name begins with a B.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Bidenomics. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there's a lot
the trade desk at Goldman Sachs says that the tech rally continues till March. So I don't know.
It's
hard to imagine.
A lot of potential. I don't know. I think good things are just going to keep coming. I think, with the president that we have now, he's not in there he's in there to make America great again. He's not in there to.
Yeah, what worries me is that every day he's in office is one less day that he has to be president.
I know. It's one day closer to.
They talk about how the Democrats don't have anybody, for a good candidate. I would assume J.D. Vance would be Trump's pick, but Trump's pretty unpredictable. And if he is going to back Vance, then I think he needs to start creating a higher profile for him now, letting it seem as if
he's making all the decisions.
That more of the decisions made and actions taken, that he really, Remember how what's her name, Kamala used to say, "I was always the last one in the room." You know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she first one to leave too, probably.
Then she writes a book about what a scumbag everybody was. So
Yeah.
anyway, nice job.
Anyway.
Nice backstabbing. All right, back to you.
All right. So we didn't take any trades in here, though the ES is about to trigger one right now. Let me just move some of this stuff out of the way. A down close on the ES is what we need right now. A down close on the YM is what we need right now. And we don't have anything over here on the NQ. There it is on the YM. We don't have anything on the NQ. And there it is on the ES too. All right, so we have an ES and a YM trade now. This needs to go 4 ticks, and that needs to go 5. One more on this. There it is. I'm going to break even on the ES. 2 more on that. I'm just going to break even on the YM because I can't keep my eyes in the same place. All right, so we're +4 on that, and +5 on that, +8 on that, and +10 on that, +10 on that, +12 on that. So we're up 10 on that, and we're going to get 12 on this. There it is. All right, so that was a good series of trades right there. And that, I think, is probably going to wrap it up for me. We have a minute and a half left. So we had 12 on that, and that is $600 with 10 contracts on, and we had 10 on that. That's $1,250 with 10 contracts on. The down close here on the NQ is going to be too high. It's going to be 1 tick above the midpoint. Okay. Let's see, 1 tick above. Those just don't tend to work out as well when it's 1 tick above like that. All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to take any more trades. So let's say this. The LAC stock that we looked at, this took a lot more room to go. And the projection was for it to keep going until the 8th. So I know we have 2 days here, and they're going to have the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. If something big happens over the weekend, then I expect that thing's going to go even higher come Monday. I hate buying options over the weekend. And last night, in the meeting last night, we talked about micros versus options again. If you're trading the futures, we get into equities like the LAC thing. You can't buy micros on the LAC.
And with stock, of course, you don't have the leverage that you have with futures.
Right, not at all. That's the options. You do get some leverage, but the options are much higher risk.
When you intraday, if you buy one S&P 500 Emini futures contract for $750, I know some brokers are $500, but I think StoneX at $750. At the current price, you're controlling over $300,000 of S&P 500 best of breed equity. But if you want to buy one share of LAC, you got to pony up. What was it? $8, $9, whatever price you're
$9 right now. $9 right.
If you're in Toronto, you got to pony up 12 Canadian dollars. So
12 CAD.
So that's one of the reasons that we, kind of migrated to futures years ago, because the leverage is just incredible.
At the time in market and all that is just so much faster. You're just in and out, and at the end of the day, your money's in your account.
Yeah.
There's no 3-day waiting period or anything like that.
Yep. And at the end of the year, you get a 1099 from your broker that either says how much money you made or how much money you lost. Period.
And you get better favorable tax status too.
Yeah, and you don't have to go. Your bookkeeper doesn't have to go through every sale that you made, and what price did you buy it at, and what did you sell it at, and what was your net profit. And it's all right there. Commissions have already been deducted, all that. It's just You're either positive or negative, and you get one little piece of paper, and that's it. And you have to educate your accountant, and they're not going to believe you when you tell them that there's favorable tax status. You're just going to have to say, I need you to research the tax status of futures,
I'll
because
show you
that's
what it
what
is.
these are. And
I have it.
they'll freak out. They'll go, oh my God, I had no idea. Because very few people trade futures. So
I have it somewhere in here. Imported from my. It's one of my really old ones that I have in here. Folder. I'll find it. I'll find it, and I'll give it to you guys at a different time.
when you Google it up, guys, you're going to find it's a 60-40 split.
Yeah, it is.
60% is
yeah,
no 60% long term, 40% short term.
You know, I just pasted that whole thing to somebody in one of the meetings I was in Telegram the other day. Let me see. I don't know if I did it.
Imagine being in a trade for 5 minutes and getting long-term capital gains tax. That's just. I remember when I first started trading futures, I was like, well, wow, this is like the best kept secret in the world. But now that I've found it, I'm sure they'll just take it away. And 20 years later, it's still here.
Still there.
I guess it's probably maybe congressmen are big futures traders, so that's why they've allowed the law to stay in place.
Farmers are big futures traders with their hedging and all that.
Yeah, that's true too.
All right.
Okay, so
that's it. With that, I can wrap it up and pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain. Did you have anything else you wanted to look at right now?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okey-doke.
Okay, recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 19 minutes and 11 trades to get to $1,000 per contract.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we'll go back to where we left off. Crude oil. Now, crude oil has been tanking since last week. I mean, look at how that thing has dropped. Boom, boom. Each one of those vertical lines separates a day. This is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. We can go back. And looks like the last major high, 66.42. Now, you'd have to go back further than that. But last night, again, all of our traders and all of our trial members had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. And in case you weren't tuned in at the beginning, I will show you exactly what I mean. This is the Logic 247, where this week we had 63 alerts issued, 52 actionable, 3 stop out, 6%. But what I want to show you is the concierge, which is here. So last night, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. S&P, Dow, Russell, crude, NQ gold, silver. Now we've gone through already. We've already gone through the ES, where we opened here, and by 9:30 we had hit the long target, and we opened at 67, we'll call it 65, and ran up to 77. That's 12 points by 9:30. I'll need 2 points to get your goal for the day. When you trade through the long target on the pullback, the top of the long target will very often hold a support, as it did here. No, we overshot it a little bit. We shot it down to the previous bearish cross right here. That sent us back up again for what looks like it may be the high of the day, 6,800. That's a big round number. That might be the high for a while. I don't know. We'll see. But we've come back down to the top of the long target, and as you can see, so far it's holding as support. That is a very common thing. The Dow, here's where we opened, and we had made it to the long target by 9:30. Then we got up to the zone, consolidated for hours, came back, and again, the top side of the long target held as support. And at the beginning of the broadcast, I talked about how the step line was getting ready to cross balloon climbing, and that you should look for a retracement back to the VVC because price always reverts to the mean. So again, all of our traders had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. The Russell, we opened at 2475 and we hit 2482. 75, 82, that's 7 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. But we hit that by, what was it, 10:30? Yeah. Then on the NQ, here's where we opened above the BBC with the balloon climbing, and we hit the long target by 8:30. We opened at, we'll call it 25,100. So 46 points, 45 points at $20 a point. That would be $900 per contract traded. Now this time on the pullback, okay, remember, very little is 100%. Although we did catch a nice bounce off the top of the long target, but it bounced right into the VVC. Pullback holds more often than not. Held here, held here. Okay, so down we go, and then the pullback holds here, and then we hit the short target basically to the tick. That candle opened at 25, we'll just call it 105. So it dropped. So that candle right there is worth $900 per contract traded. The one candle right there. It's right there. And the short target simply based off right there. See, it's not magic. You just got to learn to read the chart and use the indicators that we provide. The low so far on the NQ. See, I think we got lower to go. We're going to probably see this, possibly this. I think we're well off the high of the day. So back to where we left off earlier, crude. Here's where we opened last night. We ran into balloon climbing. Price got pinched between support and resistance. We finally overcame the VBC. We overcame the weekly trading zone. These are the zones that were published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. And we had hit the long target by 3 a.m. Eastern. Almost hit it, 2:30. This is the London Open. We hit it. Now resistance always sends price looking for support. And the pullback holds more often than not. As you can see, the pullback held to the tick. And it was support times 2 because you had a weekly zone here, 60.90/95. So support, again, sent the market looking for resistance. It overshot the long target on the second trip up. But it wasn't able to take out, certainly not that high, and not even the top of the body of that candle. So that's a sign of weakness. So that sent price back to the zone, consolidation. Now we've hit the long target again. Well, we hit it once, we hit it twice, 3 times, 4 times, and now we're just kind of quietly consolidating sideways. So just maybe crude's turning around. I mean, it's been falling for over a week. I don't know of any reason for it to turn around, but there's a whole lot of people know a whole lot more about it than I do. So, all right, gold. We haven't covered that one yet. Now, when crude moves $1 in price, that's worth $1,000 per contract traded. When gold moves $1, that's worth $100 per contract traded. This was the open last night. We made a run at the long target, bearish cross. We didn't quite get there on that first attempt. But that candle, you've got blue and climbing, and you're above the VBC. So you just buy the open of the candle, which was 38.82 and a half. We'll call it 83. And it ran up to 88. So that one little green candle right there, that's worth $500 per contract traded. The resistance came right here. I point this out to you often. See how you got a wick pointing down and a wick pointing up? And that creates that little crevice right in the middle of them. Okay, see, look at the red line. See right there? And look at this high right here. Is that not exactly the same? It is. It's not a rhetorical question. It is. Okay. So now we know why the price did not get to the long target, but it still gave you $500 of potential profit. Then we get below the VBC and we drop. Now the short target's based off where red turned to blue. Okay. And this low right here, okay, right here where the step line crossed red and falling. That's an important price, important area. And so as you can see, we spiked that by just a tiny bit. Okay, follow the horizontal line on the cursor. Okay, it's like right. So 62.7 down to maybe we'll call it 2 points, whatever. Okay. But look at what you had coming down. This candle opened at 38.71 and dropped to 63. That's $800 per contract traded in that one 30-minute candle. And we failed to get to the short target. Ran into this low right here. So you're always looking left for direction. And the low of this candle, which is also right here where red turned to blue, you see that? Look at the horizontal line. We just didn't quite get there. Buyers saw a bargain and came in and scooped it up, and off they went. Got us above the BBC, pull back hill, and we hit the long target at 38.90. We then pulled back to the VBC, and again the pullback held. You see it held here and here and here and here. And then it sent us up to the highest weekly trading zone, 39.16/17. Now, these are the zones that were published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Now, we hit that zone yesterday, but then we dropped pretty sharply. Could that happen going into the close today? Possible. What time did this happen? See, this was the 9:30 opening candle yesterday. We're already up to the 1:30. So the market's closed Futures markets don't close till 5 p.m. Eastern. Stock market, 4 p.m. Eastern. So we hit the zone that was published Monday morning on Friday for the tick. Now, well, that's just some new clever trick you've come up with. No, we've published the zones for over 15 and a half years, every single week for our members. I have not seen any better guiding light. And I've seen a lot of stuff since I started trading futures back in 2005. Not a professional trader, trade for my own account, blah, blah, blah. But this is the best I have to offer. Hope it works for you. Step line has crossed, blue and climbing. Look for a retracement back to the VVC. Then it becomes a question of, well, is the pullback going to hold? Only patience will give you that answer. If price does trade through it, where should you look for support? This low, top of the long target. This low, this low, this area right here, and this low. Again, it's like reading a book, okay? And if it's a good book, they call it a page turner, because you get to the bottom of the page and there's like a cliffhanger. And in your mind's eye, you already know what's going to happen when you flip that page. 20% of the time or less, you're going to be wrong. At least that's what we found out with Logic 247. Over the last 7+ years, we've issued over 20,600 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure, which means learning how to read the chart, right? Right. Okay. All right, last, silver. Silver coming off its high. Again, silver's only been to $50 twice in history. Once it was artificially manipulated by the Hunt brothers back in the 80s. They went bankrupt. Then a few years ago, of its own accord, silver made a run to $50 and then took a hard fall. But on this leg up, well, here's where we open. We consolidated at the BBC. And then we get a leg. And we consolidate at the zone. And then we hit the target. And then the pullback. See this wick? This was a red candle all the way down to the zone and the BBC. That's support times 2. Pullback held. Again, this was a red candle all the way down. Pullback held. Now, there's still one more zone overhead. We're not going to see it this week. But that may be the high right there for a while. 48.32. Okay. The step line has crossed. So what are we looking for? A retracement. Price always reverts to the mean. I don't care what market it is. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETFs, price always reverts to the mean. And in our case, the mean is green. It's called the BVC. Just stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices. Above the green line, higher prices. One last look at the daily chart. Oh my, look at that. High of the day was 6,800. And now we're all the way back to 61 1/4. Oh boy, this thing's coming undone hard. I'm guessing the institutional traders are a little leery of taking this home over the weekend. So a lot of long positions are unwinding right now. So if you're a trader, you can certainly take advantage. If you trade futures, you can be long, short, long again, all in the same hour if that's what the chart in front of you tells you to do. Stocks, it's a little different story, but futures, price drops faster than it rises. It takes financial commitment for price to rise. All it takes for price to do what it's doing right now is the institutional buyers. They just hit pause on the buy side. From this low yesterday to this high right here. You could have bought at this price yesterday, and you could have bought at this price today. Well, right now, you'd be getting over a 62% discount off today's high, based off yesterday's low. And that sucker's falling. Let's see what the volume, I bet your volume is spiking too. Well, we haven't broke a million contracts. 839,000. Where's support? At blue and climbing in the black step line. Price trades through that. Then you've got support at Wednesday's low, which is basically right, it's a little bit above where the daily BVC is. Okay, got support there, and then again, right there. So, you want to become a member, learn how to read the charts, have a real good idea what's going to happen when you turn the page. Email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Let her know you'd like to become a member. She'll send the information to you via email that you need to get signed up. Once you're signed up, she'll send you a lot of information. Create a folder in your email client, because a lot of the stuff you won't even know what it is, what it means, but you're going to need it as you begin your learning journey. So just put everything she sends you in that folder that you create in your email client. And as you need it, whether it's the middle of the night or a weekend or a holiday, guess what? You got it already at your fingertips. People tell me again and again, I never got this, I never got that. You got it, because everybody is sent the same packet that we know has everything in it. So, piece of cake. That's what you'll get once you signed up. Okay? As a passport holder, you get 2 hours of live training every trading day. It's an interactive environment. On top of that, you get private one-on-one mentoring. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETFs, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. Wouldn't it be nice to know where to expect resistance and where to expect support? You get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. They teach you how to read the chart. You get the concierge trade alerts the second they're published each evening, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. And every Thursday night, you get to attend the members-only workshop. And last but not least, you get the golden keys to all the private channels in Telegram. Everything a trader needs. All under one roof. One low price. Just email Valerie. support@cfrn.net. We can have you up and running and ready to go by the Globex Open Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when we go to work. We don't go to work Monday morning at 9:30. That's when our training room opens. But we go to work with the alerts the second the markets open Sunday night. In fact, the CTAs, God willing, will come out 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open Sunday night. Unless some kind of major event happens over the weekend, geopolitical or whatever. If so, if I feel it prudent, I will put a note in the discussion group that I'm delaying putting out the CTAs until we see what kind of gap the market has. See, futures rarely gap because they trade around the clock. There's a 1 hour break each day from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Last night at 6 p.m. Yesterday at 5 p.m. Eastern, the Thursday session ended. 1 hour later, last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, the Friday session began. And it will end today at 5 p.m. Eastern. The Monday session will begin Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when we go to work. That's when the alerts start coming out, both the concierge and the logic. So if I'm not going to put the CTAs out 5 minutes ahead of the open, I will do my best to let you know in the Telegram discussion group, which even as a trial member, you have access to the alerts, to the discussion group. You're able to chat with our traders, see how their journey's gone for them, how what we do is so different from what other places you may have been do. So we're not afraid to let you talk to our traders. How many places have you ever been where that was possible? And I'm not talking about talking to some bot. I'm talking about a real human being who themselves spent tons of time and treasure just trying to learn how to trade. And then, by the grace of God, they found us. Now, I'm not saying we're the only place in the world where you can learn how to trade, but how many of the places have you sunk money into that taught you how to trade? I'm going to guess that's a pretty short list. Let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. Understanding how God's love works. 1 John 4:18. Perfect love drives out fear. God loves you unconditionally at all times, but you must receive his love. Only when you do that can you love God in return and extend his love to others. In other words, you can't give away what you don't have. Romans 5:5. God's love has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. That means when you commit your life to Christ, the Holy Spirit comes to live in your heart, and he brings God's love with him. The question is, what are you doing with that love? Are you rejecting it because you think you're not good enough? Has it ever occurred to you that you have a relationship with yourself? And until you learn to love yourself, you will never be able to love God or anybody else. John says in 1 John 4:18, there's no fear in love, but perfect love drives out all fear. One author writes, I tried for years to walk in perfect love and failed daily. I thought perfect love referred to my loving others perfectly. Then God showed me that the only perfect love was his love for me. He's the only one that can love perfectly. Once that became clear, I started confessing. I don't love everything I do. But I love myself as I am because God loves me as I am. I know I need to change, and I want to change. In fact, I believe God is changing me daily. But meanwhile, I will not reject what God accepts. I'll accept myself as I am right now, knowing I won't always remain this way. God loves you. Believe it and receive it. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.